and deep house. Sirius XM, chill.
Business Park. Police are sent to the Glenwood Business Park on Southeast Glenwood Broad on an attempted robbery carjacking. The alleged victim, a 30-year-old Ben man.
This is Road Dog Trucking Radio's Trucking Business and Beyond.
We are talking about business rates, money, taxes, accounting.
Tips, tricks, and financial strategies to help your business grow. Make
46. Road Dog Trucking News with Mark Willis.
A 22-year-old Ben man was arrested Friday on charges that he tried to carjack a UPS truck at gunpoint earlier in the day at a South Bend, Oregon Business Park. Police are sent to the Glenwood Business Park on Southeast Glenwood Broad on an attempted robbery carjacking. The alleged victim, a 30-year-old Ben man who works for UPS as a delivery driver, said an unknown man armed with a handgun attempted to carjack.
This is Road Dog Trucking Radio's Trucking Business and Beyond.
We are talking about business rates, money, taxes, accounting.
Tips, tricks, and financial strategies to help your business grow, make more money, and keep it in your pocket.
Use your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others.
And now, Kevin Rutherford on Trucking Business and Beyond.
Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. We are here live. It's a Monday. It's a free-for-all. We're going to open the phones right now, so start dialing. Anything goes. Serious Trucking News on Trucking Business and Beyond is brought to you by Schneider. Visit SchneiderJobs.com. We can talk about trucks, money, fuel mileage, maintenance, tires, taxes. If they're open, start dialing. Get to those calls here quickly. All right, so every weekend I try to get away from all the news. I get away from social media. I turn off all my devices and phones and try to pretend like life is normal again, whatever normal might be. The old normal, the new normal, no normal. And then on Monday morning, start fresh and I look at everything again. Go back and I look at the numbers. I look at what the economy's doing. What is the stock market doing? What's going on with jobs and oil prices and all the other things going on. And one of the things that I realized is across the board, we're totally split on how we view just about everything. Whether it's, should we wear a mask or shouldn't we wear a mask? After all this time, we're still fighting about that. We still, how can we have people who are experts and yet totally disagree on something so simple? And yet, it's like that across the board. Why is the stock market acting the way it is? What's going to happen when we open the economy? Should we reopen the economy? We just seem to be very, very split on all of these things. And I come back every week and I look at all of it fresh and say, What do I think? Just forget everything we've been through watching all of this unfold. I just try to look at it brand new every time. And I'm still looking, I still keep hoping that some Monday I wake up and say, okay, here's a clear pattern. We can see the way out of this. But it hasn't happened yet. And the one thing I can say, here's the other thing, of many things we're split debating all the time, whether or not we're going to have a V-shaped recovery or a U-shape. The V-shape meaning we hit the bottom and people believe we're already at the bottom. We bounce off the bottom and come right back up. There was a lot of talk that we could have a V-shaped recovery because the economy was fundamentally recovered quickly, and that's going to be the question. Where is the bottom, and how long are we going to spend there? See, once you know where the bottom is, and for us, part of that would be not, and that's really the big question. Since we don't know any of these answers, and I don't know when we're going to know the answers. That's another frustrating part of this. We're partially opening the economy in some. There hasn't been any big increase in numbers in Georgia yet. Some people are saying it's too early to tell. We're just opening the rest of the economy last week or so it's going to take another 2 or 3 weeks to see, are there any increase in numbers, and if so, what are we going to do? But here's kind of what I've settled on. When there is this much uncertainty, when we really can't be certain about much of anything right now, I think you have to prepare for the worst. We can certainly hope for the best, that it's a strong recovery and it happens fairly quickly, but I think you need to be prepared for the worst. And what does that even mean? Well, one of the things I would be looking at hard are your numbers. If you don't have numbers, now would be the time to get them done. Most of us are not nearly as busy as we used to be, and that most of the time the hard work gets put off because we're working hard. And those are two different things. Working hard is just doing your job, working at what your job is. And lots of people work hard. That's not enough to really be successful. Doing the hard work is doing the work that most people put off. They know they should do, and they don't. And there's lots of areas, whether it's with our health, are we doing the right things? Those things. Are you looking at your numbers now? Because I would be. And if you're not, having an accounting system is part of that hard work. I don't think there's anybody that would say, yeah, I own a business, but those numbers just aren't important. Nobody would say that. You would sound like an idiot if you said that. But yet, more room for the rates to drop. What if we stay at this level for an extended period of time, say 6 months? Or if we're really looking at worst case, what if it's like this for 6 months and then we have another round of this in the fall? There's a lot of talk about that right now. So, one of the reasons to really dig down and look at your numbers is to also look at your operation and decide, or try to decide, will it get you through this? What I mean is that if you have your own authority and you were running primarily the spot market and load boards, I don't think you're going to be able to sustain that model during this time unless you have really low expenses and you're in a good position cash-wise. But how do you know that? If you don't know your numbers, all the things we've talked about, knowing your own net worth, knowing your own personal budget, and then knowing the business numbers. If you had all that data, then you could look at it and say, you know what, this business model is not going to work. I could only make it another month or two like this. But there are other options. Once you know your numbers, maybe this is that time where, as much as you hate to do it, you've got to go lease to a carrier on a mileage contract so you know how much you're getting for each mile. Do you know your fixed cost? People with high fixed cost have to do things differently than people with low fixed cost. Do you know your variable cost? That will make a difference. You know, you can get by in good times without knowing these numbers. You're not going to get by in bad times. The people that don't know their numbers will be dropping like flies. But there's still time to learn that. And then, like I said, those numbers will help you drive those decisions. If you have very high fixed costs, things like high truck payment, high insurance, permits, things like that, then you can't be as picky about freight and rates. You just have to keep the wheels turning. That's the way to lower your overall cost per mile when you have high fixed cost, is you have to run more miles. You can't sit around waiting for the better load. It doesn't work. But if you have low fixed cost, you can be more picky. You can decide, you know, maybe I'm just going to stay home the first week of the month because it's so slow. Whatever it might be, you would have some more flexibility if you have low fixed cost. If you have high variable cost, when you are running, you need to make sure you get the best rate possible. But you have to know all of these numbers. So that's what I would really be focusing on right now. 2, 3, 3, 6, and we'll get to those polls.
Now, back to business with Kevin Rutherford on SiriusXM's Road Dog Trucking Radio.
Welcome back. All right, it is a free-for-all, and it's time to find out what's on your mind. We've got a line open right now. Get to the calls. Let's get started north of the border. Brian, welcome to the program.
Hello.
What's on your mind today?
Hey, Kevin. Well, first of all, I want to say you're good. You're so known. You're so good at getting your nose across. I really want to commend you on that.
Well, thank you. What can I help you with today?
Well, what I know, you know, Canadian might alter your opinion on this, but I really respect your opinion on things. I'm looking at being an owner-operator, and once this transpires, I'm probably going to go full for Landstar, okay?
Okay.
Now, what my question is I'm in a situation right now where I have an associate of mine that basically has a lot of money, okay? And they said that they will give me the finances to buy the truck I choose to buy at 5% interest.
Okay.
And they said that I can pay that back over a 5-year time, okay?
Okay.
And you look at it, we'll look at it later on when we post with a 5-year time, and if I need more than 5-year time, well then we'll alter the thing, right? Where my question is with this is, do you feel this is a good time with way all the crap is with the COVID virus and everything? Is this a good time to be thinking about getting this ship first? But I know the rates of trucks have dropped down. So do you feel they might drop down more and I should wait for a while? Just get kind of pull the trigger.
You know, in 25 years of giving advice about getting started in business, I've always said the same thing, and I've said it so many times that I can't believe I have to change it now, but I do. I just have to be, you know, flexible and deal with the reality. And I've been saying for 25 years, starting a business has nothing whatsoever to do with the economy. It has everything to do with your economy, you and your economy and how prepared you are. I've been saying that for 25 years. And I've been saying I would rather see somebody start at the bottom of a market than the top. But I have to change that right now because we've never seen anything like this. We don't know if we're at the bottom. Normally we have a pretty good feeling. We've been through enough economic cycles, even 08 and 09, which seemed different. We kind of knew where the bottom was and we could deal with it. But, you know, I was just thinking about this. The part of the problem for us right now is that we are hearing numbers that are so big we just become numb to them. We're hearing trillions of dollars in these bailouts. We can't even comprehend trillions. Billions are hard to comprehend. But let's think about just this one number for a minute, because I keep hearing a lot of people saying, oh, well, I really didn't slow down, we're going to be fine. And I don't want to be the pessimist or the downer here, but let's think about one number. 1 million is a lot, right? I mean, think about 1 million people, what that would look like. I mean, we see stadiums that hold 60 or 70,000 people. Imagine 10 or 15 times that much. That's 1 million people. Now, imagine if you saw 1 million people, it would look like a lot, right? Now, let's multiply that by 36. 36 million people. Imagine what that looks like. And here's why I say that. 36 million people had a job 2 months ago that don't have a job now. 36 million. They're out of a job.
That's just U.S. alone, right?
That's just U.S., yeah. I'm just giving the U.S. statistics. 36 million that had a job that don't have a job now. Nobody saw that coming.
We've never, the economy's never seen anything like this.
Yeah, so
Ever.
here's what I would say. Keep working on your plan. I don't think it's time, no matter how prepared you are right now. Like, we could take some time and go through some numbers. What is your budget? How much money do you absolutely have to make just to pay the bills? Those kind of things. Except I think even if we did that and your numbers look good, I would still say, why not just wait 60 more days? Continue to come down. So buying a truck right now would mean you're going to pay more for it than we will in 30 days or 60 days. We definitely...
Thank you. You answered that question.
Yeah,
Question that I had.
we have definitely not found the bottom of the used truck market. Were you in the industry back in 08, 09?
Yeah.
You remember driving around and seeing fields of trucks everywhere, just trucks parked.
Everywhere, yeah.
See, we're going to get back to that. That's going to happen again. And when they're parked like that, they're going to be dirt cheap. So I'd say, wait 60 days and then let's revisit it. But keep working on your plan. Keep listening to business books. Keep tweaking numbers. Keep working towards it. Talk to people at Landstar. Find some agents over there. Start building a relationship with them now. If there's an agent somewhere in your area, and I know we're still social distancing, but, maybe go out for coffee or something with an agent at Landstar. Just keep working through the process. The more work you do now, the more you're going to be prepared. But I would say right now I would wait at least 60 days and then look to see where everything is.
Okay, well, what are your comments? I got a question on it, and don't take me wrong, because I'm not saying that what you said was wrong. I'm trying to understand it better.
Okay, sure.
What you say, I take as gospel. You're incredible. But when you said earlier that what you used to say all the time was, until this event come about, that starting a business has got nothing to do with the economy. Before we answer that question, this is maybe where I'm confused. I used to always think, and you tell me, correct me if I'm wrong to think this way, I used to always think, and used to always be told, that to start a new business, timing is everything. Now, is that a correct statement, or is that...
No. No, wait a minute. But I will say that is a correct statement as long as we put it into context. See, most of the problem with these memes and these sayings and quotes and statements is you could interpret them a lot of different ways. So if we put it in the right context, so let me do that. Timing is everything, but it has nothing to do with the economy. It has everything to do with you. Are you ready? And most people aren't. Most people screw up the timing because they're nowhere near ready. So
you're saying the interpretation of timing mean everything doesn't mean the timing of the economy, it means the timing
correct.
Of where you're at, how prepared you are.
Exactly. When things are booming, what the hell are you going?
There's especially the type of business I'm looking at, where you got to, purchase a truck or whatever. I'm thinking the best time to start it is when it's low, so that you can.
Absolutely. And here's the good news. We're not, like I said, this is so unusual that I would not start now. First time in 25 years I've said that there's just too much going on that we don't understand. But I would keep getting ready. And the good news is, if this event turns out to be as bad as we're expecting it to be, then the bottom is going to be a real bottom. That's good news.
Yeah.
That means there's even more room to move up from there. So, yeah, I would just be patient. Keep working on your plan. Keep working towards it, and we'll know when it's time. I keep hoping, we start to see some signs. We haven't yet, but we'll know.
One other quick question for you. I know you're a busy man with this, and rightfully so. But the one question I got is, what I've always kind of looked at is that I shouldn't be buying a used truck. No, I'll reword this. Sorry. To buy a used truck is a lot better to buy something new enough that's got some warranty rather than buying something that is old enough that doesn't have any warranty. Is that right way to look at it?
Two things that everybody else talks about buying trucks, and I almost never talk about: warranty and resale value. I could care less. Those are not in my business vocabulary. I don't look at warranties, and I don't look at resale value as part of the decision. I look at budgets, what's logical, and for first trucks, I'd much rather go with an older truck that's cheap rather than have a warranty. That the warranty to me is almost worthless. So I'd much rather go. And here's the good news: we're not going to have to go with older trucks to get trucks really cheap here soon. We're going to be able to buy 4, 5, 6-year-old trucks cheap. We will be right back. Stick around. This Road Dog Trucking Weather Report.
Hi there, it's Dr. Billy Goldberg.
This is Fred.
Keep up the good work and thank you.
Listening to Kevin Rutherford on Road Dog Trucking Radio's Trucking Business and Beyond.
Welcome back. It's a free-for-all kind of day. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, anything you want to talk about, pick up the phone. We are off to Ohio. Hoyt, welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on, Kevin?
What's on your mind today?
I had a question about protein. I've been working. I've been on keto for 5 months, by the way. Been working out.
Ketogenic. Ribeye is 80. Call it high protein, and that caused all the problems. The marketing tool anytime soon.
Man, I'll put a picture of me on.
You're eating high fat real food.
All right, but thanks for everything you do, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Yeah, the protein thing, that's just the latest marketing hype. Protein everything now, and it's just not necessary to supplement protein. We get plenty. It's funny that the mainstream everything now, whether it's the media, the medical community, they're all pushing protein now. But yet, they will look at you and say, oh my God, you're eating a ketogenic diet, all that protein is going to kill you. It's not. The one macro that doesn't change much when you move from the standard American diet to a ketogenic diet, the one macro that doesn't change much is protein. There's plenty of protein in the standard American diet, and there's plenty of protein in a ketogenic diet, and it doesn't tend to change much. If anything, I guess it would probably go up some. But the two macros we're really flipping around when we switch, we're really switching carbs and fats, and protein stays about the same. So the standard American diet has been very low fat for decades, but it's also been very high carb. You have to eat something. You can't really eat low carb and low fat. You'll die before long doing that. So that's really what switched, is we've traded in the carbs for fat, and we've left protein about the same, and that works. Protein we just don't really have to think about it much. All right, I'm going to get to the calls. We've got some lines open today. It doesn't happen very often, but if you dial right now, you should be able to join us. We're off to Oregon. Phil, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for all you do, and I have learned a tremendous amount just by listening to you.
Awesome. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Kevin, I'm seeing on Facebook these advertisements for ionic foot baths, and they draw toxins. Is that just a load of BS? What's your opinion on that?
For the most part, it is a load of BS. Here's the thing. We can draw toxins out through our skin. The body has 7 pathways to detox. It's all natural. I have with the foot. But here's the thing. You're going to be able to absorb based on the amount of skin you expose. Why do I want to just stick my feet in something? They actually feel worse after you. And if we force a detox, then we tend to see people end up feeling worse. So we don't focus on detox. We focus on eating clean. Most of the time, that's all it takes. Over time, the body detoxes itself. If somebody's been eating clean for a long time and it's not happening, then we might go in and try to figure out why. But I see way too much emphasis put on this whole detox thing.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Wyoming. Cliff, welcome to the program.
Kevin, how are you this morning?
Doing good. What's on your mind?
Well, the more I listen to you, the more I want to argue with you. But first thing I want to call you about is I agree with the expense and time loss. I mean, that's one expense nobody figures. Lost revenue versus a 7-day week. It's very expensive. It's very expensive if you set your cost or not, especially if you do east to west stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and again, you've got to look at you can't make a blanket statement that it's bad to sit or it's good to sit or waiting for another load. You've got to look at numbers. If somebody has very high fixed cost, then these guys in these lease purchase programs with $4,000 a day for a load, they think that there's a chance that I may see a better rate. Every month is always slow for me. I'm just going to stay home that week. It's just not worth running right now.
That's exactly right. That's exactly correct. I wouldn't think anybody has to get set fixed cost of $4,000. No, that's terrible.
Oh, I see it all the time. That's just truck payment. Look at some of these lease purchase programs. Here's why this is. They say it. Yeah. Plus, they have all these. They have all these holdbacks. They hold back money for escrows, for tires and fuel tax, and all kinds of stuff. So those guys just have to keep the wheels turning. They just have to get as many miles as they can possibly get.
That's an expensive truck.
Yeah, it is, and it's really. When times are good. When times are good, they were making it. When times are bad, they're going to struggle. Most of them aren't going to make it through this.
The other thing I adamantly disagree with you on is to tell these people to go out there and buy a used truck, regardless of the warranty, but you don't tell them how expensive it is to work on those darn things. You know?
Sure I do. I've put out that number many times. I've said expect about 15 cents a mile. I give them exactly how expensive it is. I talk about it all the time.
I don't look at it like that. Well, I missed that conversation.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Here's the other thing. Have you ever bought a new truck?
Several.
Yeah, were they maintenance free?
I've had 2 bad ones out of 25.
Well, 2, I mean, it still happens, and you've got a big truck payment to deal with. We'll be right back. Stick around. I'm not changing my mind about that advice. I'm Kevin Rutherford.
Hey, it's Mike Babchick from Ornament on Mad Dog Sports Radio. In class of 2020, you did it, baby! Congrats to you guys!
Yo, this is Jacob Hester from SEC Radio.
Back to Road Dog Trucking Radio's Trucking Business and Beyond with Kevin Rutherford on Road Dog Trucking Radio.
welcome back. We're going to get right back to the calls. We are off to Illinois. Rich, welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on, Kevin?
What can I help you with today?
I don't know if you remember me. I am the one that was telling you about the PPP forgiveness.
Okay.
Where they put out the... So I got the EDIL loan, and I got approved for $117,000, and today I got funded with a $117,000 EIDL loan. So the terms on that is 30 years at 3.75% interest.
Okay.
I had about 30,000. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's pretty darn hard to beat in business. You don't get unsecured loans at those kind of rates with those kind of terms. That's incredible.
So I got $20,700 on the PPP. I got $1,000 on the grant. I will have to pay the grant back. I don't know if you knew this, but on Friday they released the forgiveness application. It's 11 pages, and you need to have a NASA degree to be able to figure this out. It's so confusing.
Yeah, but here's what they also said on Friday, that if your loan was less than $2 million, none of that matters. If your loan was less than $2 million, all that matters is the box you checked on the application saying, I need this money. They've said they're not going to investigate any loan under $2 million. They're just going to accept the fact that you said you need it.
Now, my question is, I had about 30, right around 35 in the bank before all this started. I got 20,000 DPP. I really haven't been affected a whole lot. I do reefer. But on the EDIL loan, I mean, I got $94,000 truck payment, and I owe about $39,000 on my trailer. The trailer is pretty high interest, but at that rate, and with the way things are going to be, you don't know when the end of it. Don't you have to take this loan? Or is it not right to take it when you really don't need it, but you just don't know what the end is? What would you do under my situation?
So this has been, I've said from the beginning, the government should have never issued these loans, period. The government can't afford this. It wasn't the right way out of this, but they did it. Once they did it, and I looked at the way they were doing it, I said, you have to take this loan whether you need it or not. Because otherwise it's the government picking winners and losers. The government is in essence saying, we're going to support the businesses that were run the worst, and we're going to punish the ones that were run the best. That's another form of leveling the playing field, and it makes me insane. So I said, look, if they're going to do this, then they damn well better make sure they have enough money to give it to everybody, whether you need it or not. And at that point, I don't even look at it as a grant or a loan. I just look at it as business owners, we've paid too much tax in, and now we're getting some back, as long as we all get it. So I wish they would have never done it. But once they did, I said, well, let's think about this. The money that you got, that's a grant that you're never going to have to pay back. 20-some thousand, is that what you said?
20,700.
Yeah. So if businesses your size, your competitors, took that money and you don't, that's a huge hit. That's just wrong that we have to operate in business that way. So my point was, I wish they would have never done this, but they did. And as long as they did, then we all better take it. And I think now they're even realizing that, saying, look, whether you needed it or not, if it was under $2 million, we're not even going to look at it.
Now, as a single owner operator, for people, I hear it all the time, you know, they're out against this. They're a single owner operator with a zone authority truck driver. In 4 weeks to get $138,900.
Yeah.
I just can't get my head around that.
And a bunch of it you don't even have to pay back.
And like I said, there's so many stipulations. You can only use it on business. You can get both of them as long as you don't use it for the same thing.
I know. I don't know how we're... And here's the other thing. I don't know how we could ever possibly figure it out. The IRS, that's the agency I would assume that's going to be tasked with figuring this all out. The IRS has been understaffed and overwhelmed for years. They can't even audit the number of tax returns they should be auditing. Now, all of a sudden, we put out hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of loans. But there's nobody to audit any of this stuff.
Well, also, I just want people to know, the people that are struggling, I did my EDL loan on the first day. It took about 4 weeks for me to get a $1,000 grant. And then about 2 weeks, they sent me an email saying, hey, what they did was they took 50% of my gross revenue. I did like $235. So you get 50% of that minus the $1,000 grant. So it came down to $117,200. So on the application, I put, because they asked what your cost of goods sold is. Well, I don't sell any goods.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm a service. So then, whenever I filled out the application, because then it's basically gives you a portal. They did that on Thursday. Then it goes to an underwriter to see if you can get approved. The underwriter called me and they're like, hey, how do you have no cost of goods? How do you have $235,000 in revenue, but you don't have cost of goods? I was like, well, I'm in transportation. I'm a truck driver. I don't sell anything.
Yeah.
And she goes, I said, I can give you my net income, which is $103,000. She goes, no, we don't want your net income. We want your cost of goods. I was like, my cost of goods sold would be zero because I don't sell anything to anybody. And she goes, okay, then it's just she goes, you're approved. My credit score is about 750. I don't know, if that helps with getting it, but like I said, literally $139,000 in 4 weeks. I got that. So I got approved on Friday. The money went in my account today. But in literally 4 weeks, $139,000. Hang out there, people. If you do need it, I just feel bad because I could be fine without it. But then again, if this goes for 6 months, maybe I'm not fine.
That's the other problem with this, the way they handled it, and the fact that money was running out. You had to get in and get it before you could really think about it. And my point is, we don't know when the end of this. So business who say they don't need it may end up needing it. And by then it would be too late. So we just have to deal with what it is. Let's go to Indiana. Blaine, welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing, Kevin?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I was wondering about the PPP, also home forgiveness. You had looked into it, basically. I don't know, 11 pages, it said. So.
Yeah, like I said, the report on Friday, and here's the other thing I have to say about this. This could all change tomorrow. It could change next week. It could change next year when we go to file the tax return. This is so up in the air, and things have already changed many times. Congress came out and said that their intent was for this money to be tax-free, that you wouldn't show it as income, and you would still get to deduct the expenses. Then the IRS came out and said, no, that's not how it works. You're going to have to show it as income, and then you can deduct the expenses. That's a major difference, and we don't have clarification on that yet. So all of these things are up for grabs. Nothing is set in stone, but logically, they came out and said, if your loan's less than $2 million, we're not investigating anything. If you say you need it, we believe you. And that's just logical because, like I just said, there's nobody in the government to investigate any of these things anyway.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, he basically answered my question before, so I'll let you next guy.
All right. Thanks for the call. That's going to take us right to the break. I don't know what happened. We just lost a bunch of phone lines. If you dial right, what's going on with the market demand
smartphones?
I have no idea what happened to the phone lines. They totally disappeared, and I know we're working on getting Brent Hutto in as well, so I'm going to take a call while we do that, and we'll try to figure out what's going on with the phone lines. But if you dial right now, we'll certainly get through because they are wide open. So let's go to Wisconsin. Tom, welcome to the program.
Hey Kevin, this is Tom. I've been on the Keo this is my 3rd week. Buddy, I've already weekend. Goodies aren't like they used to be.
Poor stomach
Can you help
acid.
me out?
Yeah, poor stomach acid. Do you ever get heartburn?
Okay.
If you go up in the upper right-hand corner, you see the little stomach acid. How do you just start rebuilding your stomach acid? This one is pretty straightforward. We've had success.
It's not a lot, but it's big for me.
For a couple weeks, that's not bad at all, so keep it up. So here's the reasons why. All right, good stuff. Thanks for the call. All right, we have got Brent Hutto with us, so I'm going to welcome him back from truckstop.com. Brent, welcome.
Oh man, glad to be with you today, Kevin. How are you?
Good. Where are you today?
Man, I'm still in Alabama. We're all, the entire truck stop staff of 550 plus are all working from home still. Although we are making it, our office is available to those that want to come in purely on a volunteer basis. You know, so there's some people that hope to actually work better being in the office, and it's kind of healthier for them to be there. So we're doing everything we can, and I can tell you, it's a large mountain to climb to keep an entire office social distance and clean, and think about the challenges, and even go into a bathroom. So we're all still working from home mostly.
Yeah. So has there been any talk in the company about whether or not that may become more of a trend, or is everybody kind of just looking for? Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. Our CEO, Paris Cole, a great leader, he said, you know, it was kind of with good concern, but reluctant sending everybody home because you think, okay, everybody's not together, working together as a group. We're a very collaborative company.
Right.
But we saw no decrease in
Some people really shouldn't be working from home. I've done it most of my life, and I know you've done it on and off a lot too, so you're familiar with it. But it has to be a shock for people who have never worked from home.
Well, I think so. I mean, you know, certainly to like say, this is the business mode. I'm doing this at these times, and then this is my normal, you know, free time that I have, and you have to stay really focused. You need a door shut, keep people from, you know, if I had like you guys, you know, I got 6 kids. My kids love you, and I got to make sure they didn't interrupt you too much. Dad's still working, right?
That's right.
Still working.
Yeah, so it's going to be crazy. You've got some numbers, and I want to get to them, but I brought up a number this morning, just trying to put it into perspective for people, because I've been saying that, you know, every weekend I turn off the devices, phone gets turned off, no social media, no news. I just try, you know, I forget that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I just live, you know, just normal. And then Monday. And one of the things that struck me when I did that this morning, the number I thought of today, Lace, that'd be an interesting question. What does 1 million people in a picture look like? That number of...
Exact acronym, but yeah, 60% of them are coming from food service industry.
Yeah.
Like work and all the different things that have to go into that. It's a struggle, man. And so it's off the news. It's a great restaurant, but what the market, and we're back up over the last 4 weeks. 5 weeks has continued to climb. Right now we're at 29.5, so that's getting back to balance. Now, I'm not going to say the market is back to balance at all. What I'm saying is the indicators are really good that we're getting back to a point that owner-operators and small fleets that work inside of the spot market and the overall freight marketplace are going to get back to profitability and health and balance in negotiation on how you're negotiating that next quote. That's really good. We're at 30. Nobody's super happy, but we're getting to balance.
Well, I tell you, looking at it at 30, knowing where we were just a couple of weeks ago, there is no way I would have said we would be to 30 already. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, it shows you that with the American economy and the American people are getting back to work, more people are going back and getting back to some normalcy. Now, look, we're all still social distancing. I was out all weekend, people wearing masks in places, and it really went up 27% from last year to this not last year, from last week to this week. Now, here's the good thing. Remember, I always talk about look at the 5-year average.
Hey, hold that thought. That's a perfect good sign, and more than I would have expected by now. And another good sign, freight volumes are up. And Brett, you were about to give us some numbers on that, so go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, as you said, and I learned from the master, and you watch the numbers. Always watch the numbers, and looking at this. And remember, spot market moves quickly. It's not like it moves over quarters. It moves over weeks. So watch it every single week, and this is why looking at the data is so important. And then trend it against the 5-year average. Last year is a good thing to look at. Not always the greatest. The 5-year average is always the best. So freight volumes. When freight volumes go up, the owner-operator, small fleet owner, has the opportunity to negotiate better with those in which they're trying to get load from. So just know that. So the freight volumes were up 27% from last week. So that's a big increase.
Yeah.
Right. So they're still not at normal. In other words, not what they were last year, and they're not at what they were 5 years ago. But here's the great thing: they were 50% of where they were year over year, and on the 5-year average. Now they're at the 5-year average. They're 75% of the 5-year average, and 82% of what they were last year. So we're getting close to getting back there. And that is really important, because if you watch the freight volumes and then you look at the areas, here's what's really cool, Kevin. All right, so look at where the freight increased the most if you want to be able to negotiate the best. Flatbed for flatbed hauler, Southeast increased by 46%. In freight
That's
volume.
a jump.
Dry van. If you haul West Coast, it went up 54% week over week. If you're in refrigerator had already come back to volumes and even the rates that they had been at. So really, refrigerated has just kind of held its own, which is great. But look in the Southeast, look in the West Coast, and look at the other marketplaces. See where it increased the most. Where the most freight is, you have the best ability to negotiate.
You know, this is why I'm glad we've got you coming in here every week, because, you know, looking at the headlines in the news, I was pretty pessimistic this morning. I mean, I could not find any good news anywhere, none of the economic numbers. And yet, and here's the good news. How many times have we talked about this? Trucking is a leading economic indicator.
Yes.
We can look at trucking and say there's a good chance what we're seeing in trucking now will happen in the general economy shortly after. So if we're seeing trucking up with these kinds of numbers, that's a really good sign for the economy.
Absolutely. This isn't 5%, 6% up. This is double and more than double. So that's really what you want to look at. And here's another thing. You asked me this last week, and I wanted to get back with you. You asked me about the average length of mile per haul. So we don't see the final length, but we see is what's searched for.
Yeah.
And so and you see the distance. So we see, roughly 100 million loads a year on truck stop, and we look at the average length of haul. And remember, truck stop freight is truckload freight. So we see some other ones, but we predominantly see 90+% is truckload. It has not decreased at all in any substantial amount. 2 years ago, it was an average of 733 miles per haul. In 2020, it's 720. So we're talking about 13 miles. So there's no difference whatsoever. So we haven't seen any decrease. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at a 3-year time span. I even looked at it week over week to see if there were any anomalies. It's almost a straight line across from the standpoint of average miles, which is good.
Yeah.
Because more miles can mean more money.
Well, and I was just saying, at this point, when rates drop, sometimes you just have to run more miles. All businesses have to do that at times. When rates are down, when revenue is down, sometimes you have to work more for less. That's just what you have to do.
Hey, sure.
That's what we're going to be looking at right now. You might say, well, I don't want to work that hard for that amount of money, but that might be what it takes to stay in business during this. Any change in the rates themselves?
Well, a little bit, and I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, you're so right. These are uncommon times, so we got to do uncommon things to at least try to maintain normalcy. The rates have increased. This is the third straight week that the rates have gone up. They did not go up a giant amount, but the most important thing to look at is they went up. They went up 2 cents more per load. That's money in your pocket. I realize that, but it didn't. And what you're going to see is as freight volumes continue to go up, the rates will continue to go up. And remember, rates always trail, or they always come behind the freight volumes. And that's the normal part of the market. But the good thing is, 3 straight weeks, Kevin, they've gone up.
Yep.
So it was only about a maybe 1.5%, 2% increase, but it's still 2 cents. Still more profit or more revenue in your pocket.
It's the trend in the right direction that we want to keep seeing. I mean, no matter how small it is, if we keep up this trend, then we can start to see our way out of this. I know you also sent me some notes this morning. You wanted to touch on the D.C. protest.
Well, look, we're all in this together. And one thing I love about trucking is that it's about patriotism. It's about America. And it's about what America stands for. And so I got to watch a bunch of videos of the truckers that were protesting in D.C. And I'm glad they're doing it, man. They need to be heard. Absolutely glad that President Trump listened to them and said he was behind them. I think the most important thing to look at is how do we create solutions. One of the things was that the truckers were wanting was to understand, how the marketplace, how can well, not necessarily government, but how can I help myself by enabling the government to help me? And one of the things that I thought was interesting, I didn't even know about it, was that the truckers were talking about transparency and rate, and I just found out that there's already a law on the books, a regulation on the books.
Been around forever.
That's since 1980.
Yeah.
That was a pretty magical year as deregulation, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's already there, but.
Yeah, I was going to say, this rule's been around forever, but we also know how it works in the real world. And in the real world, you can request this number, but it's kind of like the whole relationship thing. If you have no relationship and you just start demanding to see this, most brokers and shippers aren't even going to want to work with you. And that's just the real world. But here's the other part of it that I've said forever. So what if the broker doesn't want to deal with this? How do you enforce it? This is why the law already exists, but it doesn't matter because it never gets enforced. Who's going to enforce this?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it comes back to what you said before, is that how closely are you working with the person that has the freight? If it's the broker, how closely are you working with them in finding out the best way to create profit for yourself? It's really about the profit. It's not about, you can get any old rate. If you have high cost and that rate doesn't match, you're not making as much money. So the idea is, how can you work directly with them to figure out how you can rank profit? Because you both need to work together.
Brent, let me ask you this. Let's say, sometimes I feel like just saying, look, just give them what they just asked for. I'm tired of arguing it. Just give it to them because we'll see what happens. Do you really believe that if tomorrow every freight bill that gets printed has to have the original freight rate on it? If they just said, look, you don't have to ask for it, you don't have to go to their office to see it, which is one of the problems right now. If you demand to see the rate, they'll tell you, okay, but you have to stop in our office to do it. How practical is that? But that's what they've done for years. If it changed, though, we just said, look, we're just going to print it on every freight bill. Do you think it would save even one owner-operator from going out of business? It's not going to change anything.
Yeah, probably not. Knowing your own cost is the most important part of this.
Yeah, so
what do you...
I proposed something a little maybe outrageous. First off, I said, look, I don't want the government to do anything. Just...
Yeah, no doubt. You want them out of it. Yeah.
The market will figure this out. The more involved they get, the worse things become. But I said, all right, look, if you want them involved, why not ask for this? Why not ask for something that would actually make a difference? Printing that freight rate is not going to make a difference to anybody. Nothing's going to change. That would bring the rates back up. That would help spread the available work that's there. It would get spread around more. We would actually affect the supply and demand curve, which is the only reason the rates are where they are. It's not because it's not printed on some piece of paper somewhere. The rates are where they are because of supply and demand. So if we want some help, let's get help where it would matter. And I'm not for this, by the way. I'm just for letting the free market figure it out. But if you're going to ask for something, that would actually make a difference.
Well, I think that the short-term needs do not overwhelm long-term has to have, and being good for either side.
Yep. Unintended consequences.
There you go. It's not good for the carrier, not good for the broker, and ends up not being good for the shipper. Because you end up limiting what happens.
Got to get to the break. Hey, can we do it?
You're listening to Kevin Ruther.
From Virginia. Hoyt, welcome to the program.
Hey, good afternoon, Kevin. It's the second Hoyt today, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
But at any rate, yeah, it's very odd. It's kind of a, not a common first name. But anyways, in regards to the second to last call you had talking about, I'm not talking about the PPP or the EIDL grant, but the EIDL loan. Do you have experience with this? Are you applying for that through the SBA or through a bank? Or do you know?
It is an SBA loan, and I mean SBA loans are issued by banks. So the SBA itself, I am not familiar with the EIDL loan, other than I know it exists. I know it's part of this, that they've changed some rules, but we focus primarily on the PPP loan in the beginning, and I really never got around to studying this one much.
Okay, I mean I already got the EIDL $1,000 grant.
The ability to get that kind of money on those kind of terms is insane. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I know. I can't pass it up. I guess I'll try to figure it out somehow. But I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to North Dakota. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Good show today.
What's on your mind?
Well, I called about triglycerides.
They tend to be higher running around.
My apple cider vinegar.
Triglycerides. Is that truly are? And
I'm taking one. I'm not sure without.
Living the long lower. Get this straight. HDL, we all kind of agree, is clarify all of that people with.
I get very confused. I mean, I love listening to these.
Do it. But I can say this. I can absolutely say this. Bring me any doctor who is treating people
old, and I mean he's fat in all of his life.
Let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Texas. Al, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. I've got two questions for you, and on different subjects.
All right.
The first one was you mentioned earlier about
fermentation process that creates a lot of gas. If it happens way up high in your small intestine, we call that SIBO. So if you're getting a lot of belching and pressure up high, that's what we call SIBO, and there's a way to treat that. If you're getting a lot of gas down lower, then that's another issue, but it starts with that weak stomach acid.
Okay, so I'm more in the lower part, of where, it just.
So you may want to start with something like our Digestive Jumpstart Kit, which kind of has some nutrients and supplements in there to work on all parts of the digestive system. See, digestive jump over full, kind of 5.
Explain it to me while I'm driving. Okay. I haul chemicals. I'm a tanker yanker, and man, the bottom has just freaking dropped out. We're getting maybe one load a week. Sometimes it's just a little local load, and I mean we're just shipping a lot, And I wonder if you have some insight to that or not, But I'll listen to it on the radio if you don't mind.
Okay. Yep, I will do that, and I do have some insight. I probably don't have any good answers for you, but I do have some insight as to why it's happening. So we can talk about that when we get back from this break.
Them app. And now, back to Road Dog Trucking Radio's Trucking Business and Beyond with Kevin Rutherford on Road Dog Trucking Radio.
Welcome back. All right, it's been one of those weird days on the phones again. They just disappear. So we've got about half of the phone lines open all of a sudden. So if you dial right now, it is a free-for-all. Anything goes. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, Anything you want to weigh in on, pick up the phone and join me. We're off to Nebraska. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Happy Monday, Kevin. How are we doing today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Got a question. I know I've been listening to you on your health situation, taking a lot of good ideas. I got one small one.
Okay.
Our lifestyles from, say, back in the 50s, 60s, I've kind of been eating like my grandparents.
You know, there's a lot of factors that lead into this food. Kellogg actually ran what they called back then a sanitarium, kind of like a health retreat, and he claimed that these grains were so good for you, and we believed it ever since, and we still use the term healthy whole grain when it's the one thing that's destroying our health. They're all the grains. There's a couple things that have happened. One, look around at all of the foods that now have those grains in it. So yeah, you could say it kind of started with breakfast cereal, but the rest of your day you didn't eat a ton of that stuff. So the amount that we eat has increased, also changed. We've hybridized the wheat, and it has more gluten and more gliadin, which are two of the problems with grains to begin with. Then we also started with the whole Roundup and glyphosate, to the point where we saturate those crops right before we harvest them with glyphosate. So, and we could just keep going on, and then we added, we took away the fat from our diet. So now we're not only eating high carb and lots of grains, we're not eating the fat that we should have been eating. And the oils and the fats we are eating have changed. Your grandparents ate a lot more animal fats, right? They rendered their own pork lard and beef tallow and butter. And then they told us to switch to vegetable oils. So it's not one thing, and it can get confusing when you look back and say, well, my parents or my grandparents ate a lot of cereal, and
cereal. They had like the box cereal, stuff like that. They milled their own flour. Like everybody did, the tractor got him. So that's why I always wondered about the change.
To us, if you're my age, late 50s, we have been told our entire life, our whole life, we were told you should be eating low fat, because it started in about the 60s. It's when they first started pushing the low fat thing, actually in the 50s. So for us, we've been told that our whole life, that fat is bad for us and animal fats are bad for us. Nothing could be further from the truth, but that's a lot of programming to try to reverse.
That's true. I'm 64, just had my physical. The doctor said, don't change whatever you're doing, because you're doing good.
Good.
So
yeah, that's what we want to hear.
I'm not on any kind of medication, neither is my wife,
Stuff, yeah, automatically, because of how we've changed our food supply. Let's get back to the calls. Let's go to Wisconsin. Gary, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin.
What's on your mind today?
Thank you for taking my call. Well, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the information that you give a lot of drivers out here. I'm married to a chiropractic internist, so when I get a chance, I go to seminars with her, and I sit and listen to the information. So a lot of it's pretty much, what you tell the drivers out here.
Excellent. Good.
So 2 thumbs up. And then the last call you were talking about the grain being hybridized. I'm not sure how much differences there is between being hybridized versus genetically modified.
There's a big difference. There's a really, really big difference, and this confuses a lot of people, so let's clarify this. We can either use terms like selective breeding, hybridizing, cross-pollinating. That happens in nature all the time. 2 similar plants could be close to each other, and they can crossbreed, and you end up with a fruit or a vegetable that has characteristics of both. That can happen, and then we can look at all the different varieties of apples there are, and we could make 1,000 more. That happens in nature. Humans speed it up some. And that can lead to some problems. We've hybridized all our fruit to be outrageously sweet. And that's not really a good trend. But that's not nearly as bad as genetically modified.
I was just going to say, isn't that more that's more health dangers?
Absolutely, and we don't even know what the dangers are because our body does not recognize this stuff as food because it's never seen anything like it. Because we didn't just cross.
Would be high fructose corn syrup, right?
Yes, that we do. We can genetically modify the corn for that reason. One of the biggest reasons we genetically modify plants, I just talked about it. They're called Roundup Ready plants. So we genetically modify them so that you can saturate that corn plant with Roundup and it doesn't kill the corn plant, it only kills the weeds. That's because we took a gene out of another plant or animal. We splice animal genes into plants when we're talking about genetically modifying. And this is like a big science experiment. We have no idea what that's doing to our body.
Right. Okay. Well, I want to sidestep if I can for just a moment because part of the reason I called it was, number one, I want to acknowledge what you share with everybody, but I want to stand opposed to you on the issue about the rate and being published. Okay, because I'm an old timer, been out here for a long time. I remember when the rates were published on the freight rate. And if back in the day we didn't have brokers, we did have transparency to some extent because we would go into the truck stop and visit a broker and we would do a temporary lease agreement, also known as a trip lease. You remember that?
Yeah, I trip leased a lot.
And we would go, right, and we'd go pick up a load and the freight rate would be on there and you'd say, oh, well, that's what's really paying. Okay, well, not too bad. I'm still, you know, I've got enough to prosper on. But when you're shooting in the card, you don't know what the broker is getting from the
wait a minute, Gary, stop. Okay, go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when you're getting, okay, let me put it this way. From my observation, the majority of brokers are taking probably closer to 20-25% and even more if they can get away with it. I'm leased with a carrier for 25 years, and they take 25% of whatever I take, okay, my gross. So that's 50% off the top, and I'm expected to prosper with that. So I have to be very selective with the loads that I choose. And then I have to try to negotiate even harder.
Okay, so let me jump in because we're about to run out of time. You said I look at the rate, and I know whether or not that's enough for me to prosper.
Right.
That's all you need. Who cares what the broker gets? It has no impact on you.
Okay, but if you have somebody who tells you, oh, well, that's what I got in it.
So what? Who cares what they have in it? Is the rate enough for you, and why isn't that enough?
Because I'm the one that has to, okay, let me give you a case example. Just this weekend.
Let me do this. Let me put you on hold so we can continue this after the break. So I'll let you get your point out. I'll get mine out, and we'll do that right after this break. Stick around. You're on the Road Dog, Sirius XM 146
for smartphones.
Now, back to business.
So this is the point I was trying to make, is that on either end, a broker is selling his services. He's selling it to the shipper or the company, and then he's selling a lower price, and whatever he can keep in the middle is his profit, okay? This weekend, I'm trying to do some maintenance of my own, throttle-bait the truck, increase the driveline, the chassis, only to discover I have a leaky wheel seal, okay? So the long and short of it is, I called Freightliner to find out what the average cost of the wheel seal is. So it ranges between just under $20 to $25, depending on the brand that you buy, Chicago Rawhide or Alliance or what's the other one there? Anyway, the truck stop wants $80 just for the part. That's 3 times plus what I can get it across the counter. Do I have room for negotiation? At an independent shop, maybe. At a big chain? No. It's either that or whatever. And that's where I'm saying is that if the freight rates are published, where I have transparency and I can say, well, I guess I didn't do such a good job negotiating on that rate. Now I have a better idea what it's at. It won't help me tomorrow, but it'll help me the following day or next week.
So it does, but if you want brokers to have to be transparent about their cost, why not every business then also be required to be transparent about their cost?
Well, my question is how much cost do they have if they have sub-brokers working for them? They're not just liabilities, they're assets. If they're worth anything, if they're not, they're out the door.
Wait, you totally ignored my question. Hold on, you answered my question. You totally ignored it.
If you got... All right, how much
Do you even remember what the question was?
Yeah.
So answer it. Why shouldn't every business be required to show their cost? Why only brokers?
Well, because they're getting the bigger cut. There's no regulation on that either.
You're avoiding my question. Why shouldn't you have to disclose your cost to the person buying your service?
Well, let me ask you a question, Kevin. Who has a higher cost of operation? A person with a new truck that gets better fuel.
What does that matter? What does that matter?
Finish, please.
It doesn't matter.
I'd like you to finish answering the question.
I'm trying to, but you keep cutting me off. The point is that my truck is paid for, but it costs me more to operate it because the price of parts are up. Labor keeps going up. Fuel mileage.
Gary, this is why I keep interrupting you. Answer the damn question. I know costs go up. Everybody's costs go up. Why should the broker have to show their cost and you don't? Answer that.
My question is, what cost did he have?
It doesn't matter.
What do you care? That's none of your business.
Because, yes, if it cuts into my profitability, it does.
Then why don't you, Gary, why don't you have to show that then? Why don't you have to show your cost?
Nobody ever asked me for it.
Because business doesn't operate that way. That's what I'm saying. Nobody asked for that. You're right. Nobody in business asked to see anybody else's cost except truck drivers want to see brokers. That's my whole point. You just made my point for me. Nobody asked for it because that's not how business should work.
Okay, so then where's the empathy for me having to work for peanuts while literally eating peanuts? And
let me ask you something.
Let me finish. When the broker can go back and have a big time and work from home and keep his operating costs down and have other people working remotely, either in his office or at their home where they have very low costs.
Okay, Gary, can you stop for a second? Stop all the bloviating. Answer a question and then let's move on. Yes, that's their business model. They chose it. You chose a business model that honestly, why would you lease to a carrier that takes 25% and uses brokered freight? So you lose another, and your 25% is wrong, by the way, it's 16, but you chose to lease to a carrier. You chose to lease to a carrier that doesn't have their own freight. They have to go get it brokered. That's your choice. Make a different decision. Why not go get your own authority and go compete with those brokers, because it's really easy to do, right? You just said they're sitting at home, they have no cost, this is really easy. Well, if it's really easy, go compete with them then. And stop whining that your model is just peanuts. You chose it. This is your business. It's producing peanuts because of your choices, not because of the brokers.
When I signed on, Kevin, when I signed on 25 years ago, they had their own freight. They have continually changed their business model.
Maybe you should too. Maybe you should too.
Well, maybe I should.
25 years and you haven't figured it out yet?
The point is,
is that I have tried to do. I still make decent money because I choose my load selectively.
You just told me you make peanuts. Make up your mind. You just went on a whole rant about how they make all the money and you get peanuts.
I made peanuts. What I'm saying is if I'm offered peanuts while they're eating steak, there is a difference. That's why I'm still here.
Why do you care what anybody else makes? Jeff Bezos makes about $1 gazillion an hour. Who cares? He chose that. He created that. If you're looking at somebody else's business that they created and you think they're eating steak, well, then maybe you should look at it and learn something from them.
Lead.
Well, one thing, okay, let me interject this, and maybe you'll have a little better understanding of why I haven't left. Because some years ago, I told you I am married to a chiropractic internist, but she got Lyme disease, and she went from being a doctor to being a patient. She went from being ambulatory to being in a wheelchair.
Gary, this is a victim story. Everybody has to deal with this stuff, but that doesn't mean it's the broker's fault that you're struggling.
You're not even letting me finish. I'm trying to put into your understanding that I have faced a hardship and couldn't afford to try to go out and become a broker or get my own authority. And even when I did ask the company I'm leased with if I could become an agent for them, they gave me 9,000 excuses. Yet they'll let somebody else hire somebody.
Really, Gary, come on, grow up.
You do that pretty good, don't you?
Grow up. I'm hearing nothing but excuse. No, Gary, really, you keep saying I interrupt you because you won't make a point. I asked you a very clear question several times, and when you would start bloviating again, I would stop you and ask you, answer the question. You keep interrupting me. It's because you're not answering the question. Now you're just onto your victim stories. I feel bad that your wife got Lyme disease. My wife also has a critical disease. I've dealt with it too. Everybody does. That's life. That doesn't mean that you get to turn around and blame everybody else for your business failure and think we should change the rules to fit you. You couldn't answer the question why brokers should have to show their cost. You're clearly not willing to do it. You made the decision to work for a carrier that has to go get brokered freight. That's a bad situation, so change it. If you can't afford your lifestyle being in business, maybe you don't belong in business. Maybe you should be an employee. And then you wouldn't have to deal with this. The fact that you believe somehow the brokers are ripping you off when you are the one that has the final say whether to take the freight or not. And the funny thing about this conversation is you said it exactly right the first time, and you didn't even realize it. And I tried to point it out to you,